Good morning, gang. It's my. Get your Bible, John chapter 13 today. Yeah, we've been in Matthew and Mark and John, and we're going to be in Luke. All four of those Gospels give a little bit different piece to the story of the last few days of Christ on earth. So today we are in John chapter 13. It's verses 1 through 20, and I'm going to kind of read and kind of tell you the story about what was happening. So they're in the upper room now, and the disciples had prepared the Passover feast for Jesus and all 12 of them. Okay, so now they have had their feast. It says in verse 2 that the supper is ended. The devil had already come into Judas Iscariot. He was there at that Last Supper. Isn't that interesting? He was there through the whole of Jesus' ministry and still not willing to follow him, still willing to just take 30 pieces of silver and betray Christ. How sad. But it was amazing that Christ still let him sit at the table with him. I find that really interesting. Even though Jesus knew this man was going to betray him, he was sitting there with them. And Jesus, knowing that the Father had, in verse 3, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hand, and that he was come from God and went to God, he riseth from the supper, laid aside his garments, and took a towel and girded it about him. So, Jesus they're finished with supper, and so he takes off his robe and he wraps a towel around his waist, which is what the servants would do. So this is what he did. He wrapped his towel around his waist, and then cometh he to Simon Peter. And Peter saith unto him, Lord, dost thou wash my feet? What are you doing? Master, Lord, you are my God. What are you doing washing my feet? And Jesus answered and said unto him, verse 7, What I do thou knowest not, but thou shalt know hereafter. And Peter saith unto him, Thou shalt never wash my feet. Jesus answered and said, If I wash thee not, thou hast no part with me. Simon Peter saith unto him, Lord, not my feet only, but all of me, my hands and my head. He said, I want to be a part of you. So don't just wash my feet, wash my hands, wash my head. No. And Jesus saith unto him, He that is washed needeth not to need not save to wash his feet, but is clean every whit, and ye shall be clean, but not all. So now, see, when people would come at that time, the roads were super dusty. Oh, kind of like Albania was when we lived there. It was dust everywhere. And so you would get up in the morning and you'd wash and you'd go out and everything would be clean except for your feet. Your feet had to be washed all the time. So usually when you would come into the house, there would be a servant there to wash your feet. Well, apparently none of the disciples had thought about that. And they didn't have a servant there waiting on them. The disciples had prepared the meal, and they sat down and they ate, and they all sat there with dirty feet because there was no servant to wash their feet. So Jesus takes the bowl and the towel, and he goes around and he washes all the disciples' feet. And Peter says, oh, don't wash just my feet then. You need to wash my hands and my head. And Jesus said, no, only your feet are dirty. I'm going to wash your feet. He says, though, here, he says, ye are all clean. Ye are clean, but not all. And this, he was talking about Judas, because they were all saved except for Judas. Judas wasn't saved. And now he had Satan dwelling in him, making him even more evil, even worse. Verse 11, he says, For he knew who should betray him. Therefore he said, Ye are not all clean. He knew that Judas was there. So after he had washed their feet and taken his garments and was set down again, he said unto them, Know ye what I have done to you? Ye call me Master and Lord. And ye say, Well, for so I am. You call me Master, and yep, that's who I am. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, ye also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord, neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him. If ye know these things, happy are ye if ye do them. Now, Jesus was teaching them that he was Lord, he was Master, he is God, and they're just the followers. And he wanted them to realize that servants were no different than the master of the house. Christ came to save everybody. And he wanted them to see, people on the same level. But then he also wanted them to see that if you are the master, if you are the leader, you still need to be humble enough to serve the people that you're leading. That's so important. We are to be humble. Christ humbled himself. Here he is, the master, the person, he's God. And he was washing their feet. He was the most humble among them. Nobody else thought about it. I'm sure that they sat there and went, man, I wish somebody had come in here and washed our feet, but nobody did it. Maybe John should do it, or Peter should do it, but maybe Andrew should come and wash my feet. No, instead, Jesus just picked up the towel and he washed their feet. We are to be humble like Jesus. He says, I'm doing this as an example to you. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord, neither is he that is sent greater than he that sent him. He said, the master and the servant, they're the same. We need to serve one another instead of always thinking other people will take care of it. Other people will do that. No, God says, humble yourself and wait on other people, serve other people. What a great example he is to us. Have you thought about that today? Have you thought, how can I serve other people? Instead of thinking, well, somebody else ought to do that for me. No, look around you and see, what can you do for someone else? Follow Christ's example. Humble yourself and be a servant today. I love you. I hope you're having a great day. Bye-bye.